someplace over the beautiful Pacific Northwest, this is a Space Dog Radio Show. I'm the Space Dog. Thanks for tuning in. Space Dog Radio, your remote location radio station, coming to you 24/7 around the planet and throughout the universe from SpaceDogRadio.com. You can also find us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Twitter at Space Dog Radio. Shouts out to our independent media mogul over at Filter Free Radio. Jacob Dean just put on another great show. Shouts out Jacob Dean. Here he is to tell you all about his show.
Hey friends, I'm Jacob Dean of Filter Free Radio, your home for unfiltered news, activism, and sustainable solutions. Listen or watch Filter Free Radio live Mondays, 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific, 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern at our official website, filterfreeradio.com.
Jacob Dean, check him out Monday afternoon and in the evening out in Washington, D.C. Today's guest on Space Dog Radio really needs little or no introduction. Mark Taylor-Canfield, independent journalist, all-around worldly reporter with a lot of stuff with his report, News from Under the Radar. Mark, thanks for being on Space Dog Radio.
This is Mark Taylor-Canfield reporting from downtown Seattle, beautiful downtown Seattle, home of Starbucks, bowling, Microsoft, legal marijuana, and pepper spray. Well, the reason I mentioned the pepper spray is because we had another May Day mashup between protesters and police here, something that's become an annual ritual in the Emerald City. So, once again, as happened in 2012 and 2013, police and demonstrators battled it out in the streets. Once again, it wasn't quite as much of a melee as the first one in 2012, where a federal courthouse was vandalized along with a lot of downtown businesses, and there was a direct battle between police and black-clad anarchists, as they were described at that time. And then last year, in 2013, another 17 or 18 people were arrested during ongoing confrontations in the streets in Seattle, mostly on Capitol Hill, and then once again on May 1st of 2014, after the official city-sanctioned parade and celebration happened at Judkins Park, where Mayor Ed Murray spoke, and then downtown at Westlake Park, where our city council member Shama Swat spoke. There was another group of youngsters and activists who got together at Seattle Central Community College and decided to put on an anti-capitalist march. So they roamed around town for about 3 hours, ended up on Capitol Hill, and were confronted by police who basically drew the line around 10 o'clock at night, right in the middle of Broadway on Capitol Hill. And the result were some garbage cans set on fire, some pepper spray flying, and I guess at this point, 9 arrests. So like I said, it's become an annual tradition in Seattle, the annual May Day mayhem.
But no one was seriously hurt, and yeah, we got the usual police doing their usual police thing, but hopefully no one was seriously hurt. And the important thing to remember is people were out there being active and showing their true colors as far as what May Day is all about to them. So I think that's pretty awesome.
Well, that is one of the things that gets lost in all the media coverage, which wants to talk about the pepper spray and the garbage cans on fire, which I just mentioned, is the reason that May Day exists. It's actually a worldwide day of revolution around the world, a day for workers' rights, and also, especially in Seattle, a day for immigrants' rights. And there was a big contingent of folks marching with our city council member, Shama Swat, who were involved in the $15 an hour minimum wage campaign. So the issues are there. The issues are there every year. Unfortunately, the corporate media especially seems to get lost in the pepper spray, and they forget why May Day has even existed all these years. But there's another story actually out of New York City having to do with activism, which is very controversial. Tonight there are rallies taking place at Ducati Park, the original encampment for Occupy Wall Street. And the reason is because of the conviction earlier today of an Occupy activist named Cecily McMillan, who is facing up to 7 years in jail at this point for allegedly assaulting an undercover police officer who she has claimed all along actually sexually assaulted her into Cotty Park as she was actually trying to leave the area. In fact, the irony of the story is that she wasn't even going to the protest that day. She just stopped by to pick up a friend to go have a beer. But she claimed she was assaulted. From behind, the undercover officer grabbed her breast and threw her to the ground. She put out an elbow, and that elbow struck the officer. And now she has been convicted today in New York City of assault on a police officer. So people are pretty outraged in the Occupy Wall Street movement, and there are rallies going on in support of her tonight. She was taken directly from the courtroom. The judge denied any bail, and her attorneys with the National Lawyers Guild and others are saying that she is being subjected to very inhumane treatment and that she's being made an example by the judge to dissuade activists from going to Zuccotti Park and protesting. So there you go. In the United States, which is supposed to be a democracy, and this, by the way, is our government, the government of the people. So when you hear stories like this, it really makes you feel that it's time for someone to speak out. People who in this country see this kind of injustice have the obligation to speak out. So people are headed to Zuccotti Park. They're there right now. So this is a breaking story, folks. You heard it first on Space Dog Radio.
Mark, what's the next step for this young woman as far as an appeal? It's 7 years for elbowing someone? I mean, give me a frickin' break. What is it? It seems like this is Iran or something. That's crazy.
There will be an appeal filed. Her attorneys have already said that today. And in the meantime, they've set up a fund to help collect money for her legal defense. And she's actually been written about in The Guardian and all over the place. She was interviewed on Democracy Now! With Amy Goodman. So a well-known case at this point. It's not something they're going to be able to sweep under the rug. And according to her attorney, basically what happened was that she was trying to leave the park, and she was startled when she was grabbed by the breast and ripped backwards. And so her arm went out involuntarily and hit the temple in the head of the undercover officer, who probably flung her to the ground, and others allegedly repeatedly kicked and beat her, other New York police officers, resulting in her going into seizures. So it's a nasty story that is not going to go away, and much like this latest effort by the New York Police Department called My NYPD, where they asked people to send photos of their interactions with New York police officers, this could turn out to be a very bad public relations situation, both for the New York police and the courts in New York City, because people are going to be speaking out about this. So right now, she's going to file for an appeal, but her bail was denied, so she's being held in a very nasty jail right now, which is not known for being a safe place to be. So kind of scary situation for her, for sure.
Mark, thanks for that update from New York City. We'll continue following it on Space Dog Radio as well. Another important issue under the radar, net neutrality. What are your thoughts?
Well, we have, 15 days before it's going to be made for a decision from the Federal Communications Commission on net neutrality. And Chairman Wheeler has already said that he's in favor of doing away with it, which means a multi-tiered system in terms of access to information and bandwidth, something that a lot of media democracies have been fighting against for a long time, but it's not looking good right now. So there are many campaigns right now, many petitions. There's one at freepress.org, and they're all over the place. I believe there's another one at Daily Kos. People are writing furiously to the FCC. Apparently their phone lines and mail are very busy right now because it is another whack at media democracy in the United States and access to information. And so I'm just going to repeat what I said before, which is that according to Thomas Jefferson, in order to have working democracy, you have to have a well-informed public. But if you can only access information quickly because you have money, if you're left in the slow lane on the information superhighway because you're poor, then you will not be as informed as other people, and you will not be allowed to access that universal library, which should be available to all of us. So another situation where corporate interests are trying to take over another part of our economy, and this time it's the Internet.
I saw Bernie Sanders do a speak that he was speaking about this over the weekend. Of course, Bernie Sanders out of the great state of Vermont had some really interesting things to say about the detrimental effect that this could have on the poorest of the poor and the nation in terms of communication and also creativity that we're all supposed to be sharing somehow on a very basic level. Even we're trying to do that, and the corporations are trying to take it away, it seems.
Yes, and I've said, by the way, I'm working with Bernie Sanders' staff on this issue because of my report about the FCC suppressing its own research on corporate media ownership. But I would just say once again that back in the day when it wasn't too long ago when people had commercial television coming in through the airwaves into their little rabbit ears. As far as I remember, you could pay for cable if you wanted to, but the public airwaves were owned by the public, and these corporations actually were using the airwaves at the behest of the public and had to fulfill certain obligations to prove that they were working in the public interest. Well, all that has gone out the window already when the fairness doctrine was thrown out under the Reagan administration. And now, basically, you have a situation where it doesn't matter whether you have rabbit ears or not. If you don't have the dough, you're not going to get the bandwidth and the speed, the internet connectivity speed. So I just go back to the fact that the airwaves have been bought and sold to private corporations, multinational corporations, who now own most of the media, and now they're going to kind of try to control who gets access to that media depending on how much money you get in your bank account. So it's a pay-to-play situation now. The public airwaves will be no more if net neutrality goes through. It's not going to wipe out alternative media, alternative music, alternative art and creativity, but it will definitely make it even harder for people to access that kind of grassroots underground media and artwork. And if you talk to folks in those fields now, they're already saying that they're very isolated because they don't have multinational corporations backing them with their huge advertising campaigns. So it's hard enough right now to find out what's really going on in the world and who's doing the authentic creative stuff. It's going to be even more difficult if it becomes a pay-to-play situation.
Mark Taylor-Canfield, anything else you want to send out to the rest of the world?
Well, just the fact that I got a chance to hang out with Thom Hartmann. He was in town talking about his new book, The Crash of 2016. He was actually here on May Day while the pepper spray was flying. He was over at Town Hall talking about the crash of the economy because of the control by the 1% of the 1% of the entire nation's economy. Also got a guest spot on his show. Leslie Marshall was sitting in. I've been on her show several times before. And also got to do the Randy Rhoads show. So it's been a big week in Mark Taylor-Canfield, man. But what I'm really excited about is putting my own radio program together. So I'm working feverishly, pulling all-nighters, trying to get all of the tech and production stuff together. It's not an easy thing to do. Not an easy thing to do independent, alternative, DIY media, but it's definitely well worth your time and effort. And Space Dog Radio is one fine example of that. So keep up the good work, Space Dog, and shout out to all the Space Dogs out there, and Jacob Dean at Filter Free Radio, and all the other folks doing great stuff right now. We need you. We need you like never before, so keep up the good work. And glad to hear you talking with Air Occupy and Liz and folks again. All good stuff that deserves our support.
Mark Taylor-Canfield, we got a link on spacedogradio.com. Of course, he's on Facebook. He's all over the place. You heard he's on many progressive radio shows, and we really appreciate his time every time we get to talk to him. Thanks, Mark Taylor-Canfield. Have a great evening. We'll catch you next orbit.
Hey, check out my YouTube channel, too, and I'm writing at Truthout and Op-Ed and Daily Coast. And till next orbit, see y'all Space Dog next time.
All right. From someplace over the beautiful Pacific Northwest, this has been the Space Dog Radio Show. I'm the Space Dog along with Mark Taylor-Canfield. Thank you for listening. Be safe, be happy, and we'll catch you next orbit.